Across the stars, a dark fleet moved like a storm. These ships were huge, black, and covered in scars from 1,000 battles, dead. They belonged to the Growlithe Horde, a race of conquerors that had burned world after world. Wherever they went, life ended. Cities turned to ash. Civilizations fell to their knees. The Growlithe felt no fear. They had never known defeat. At the center of the fleet sat their flagship, Doombringer, a giant vessel shaped like a dagger pointed at the heart of any world it faced. Inside, the Growlithe's supreme commander, Jorak, stood tall. His skin was like dark stone. His eyes glowed red, and his heart beat with the hunger for war. Another world burned, he said, looking at the screen that showed a smoking planet behind them. His voice was like the growl of a beast. Another victory for the Growlithe. His officers cheered. They lived for battle. They believed no enemy could match them. But as the fleet moved on, searching for its next target, a strange signal reached them. It came from a blue world on the edge of a spiral arm. A small planet full of oceans and green lands. The signal was weak, some kind of radio wave. Jorak listened as his science officer spoke. Commander, the world calls itself Earth. Primitive. They use old radio signals. No advanced shields, no plasma cannons. This will be easy. Jorak laughed. Good. I am tired of hard fights. Let this be a simple prize. He turned to his crew. Set course for Earth. We will add it to the list of broken worlds. The fleet moved fast, their engines tearing through space. From the windows of the Doombringer, the stars stretched like lines of light. Jorak stood at the front, watching, waiting. He thought of all the species the Growlithe had crushed. The soft ones who begged. The brave ones who fought but still fell. None had ever stopped the Horde. None ever would. But as they neared Earth, something strange happened. The signals from the planet grew stronger. Not weak cries for help, but confident voices. Songs, messages sent out to the stars as if they feared no one. And then, another surprise. Commander, the sensor officer, shouted, "We detect ships." Human ships. Waiting near their planet, Jorak narrowed his glowing eyes. Ships, are they running? No, sir, the officer said. His hands shook a little. They are holding position. They are not trying to flee. Jorak felt the first small crack in his confidence. Show me. The screen lit up. There they were, human warships. Smaller than Growlithe destroyers. But they floated there like guards, like sentinels. Ready. They are fools, Jorak said after a moment. Think they can stand against us? No species can. Bring us in closer. Prepare to fire. Let them taste the power of the Horde. As the Growlithe fleet neared Earth, they passed the moon. Their massive ships cast shadows over its gray surface. The human ships remained where they were, blocking the path to Earth. Their hulls were scarred from past battles, but they showed no fear. Inside one of those ships, a carrier called Valor Captain Sarah Grant watched the enemy approach. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, cold. They're bigger than anything we've seen before, her officer said quietly. Sarah nodded. Doesn't matter, we're not moving. We hold the line. On the Doombringer, Jorak watched. As his fleet spread out, surrounding the human defenders, begin the attack, he said. Crush them. Show them why the galaxy fears us. Growlithe ships powered up their weapons. Red lights glowed across their hulls. Plasma cannons hummed. Ready to fire? But then something unexpected. The human ships fired first. Railguns launched metal slugs at incredible speeds. Missiles streaked through space. The Growlithe were caught off guard. The first volley tore through one of their forward ships, splitting it apart. The wreckage floated, burning, as plasma tanks inside exploded. On the Doombringer, the bridge shook. What? Is this? Jorak roared. How did they strike so hard? No one answered. The crew stared in shock at the screens. More human weapons followed. Smart missiles, guided by strange codes that the Growlithe couldn't jam. Beams of energy from new types of weapons the Growlithe had never seen. The humans weren't just fighting back, they were winning. Inside Valor, Sarah watched the enemy break formation. "Keep firing," she ordered. "We don't let them get close." The Greylith tried to regroup. They launched their own attacks, plasma blasts, particle beams, but the humans were ready. Their ships dodged, their shields held, their weapons kept striking true. Jorak's fleet began to fall apart. Another ship exploded as a railgun slug hit its engine core. The destroyer lost power and drifted into the path of a missile swarm. Jorak slammed his fists onto the console. "This is not possible," he growled. "No world has ever stood against us like this." His second-in-command, Vrek, leaned closer. His voice was low, fearful, "Commander. Perhaps we have made a mistake." Jorak glared at him, but inside he felt the same cold fear. This was no easy prize. Earth was not like the others. These humans were different. The Growlithe fleet pulled back, regrouping, their pride shattered, and as they did, a human message cut through space. A simple message, sent in clear words, "We do not fear you." Jorak stared at the message. His mind raced. The galaxy had changed. The Growlithe had met an enemy unlike any before, and for the first time in his life, Jorak felt the touch of fear. The stars burned cold above Earth as the Growlithe fleet floated in space, broken and confused. The proud warriors who had crushed 100 worlds stared at the wreckage of their ships. Fires still burned in the void, pieces of Growlithe vessels. Spinning lifelessly on the Doombringer, Jorak paced like a caged beast. His red eyes glowed with anger, but deep inside, the taste of fear remained. "This should have been easy," he growled. "These humans, they should have fallen like all the others." His second-in-command, Vrek, watched the screens silently. He didn't dare speak yet. Truth was too clear. They had underestimated Earth. Jorak slammed his clawed fist onto the console. "No more games. No more mercy. We will end this. All ships prepare for full assault." Far below, on the human carrier Valor, Captain Sarah Grant watched as the Growlithe fleet began to move again. "They're coming back," her officer said quietly. Sarah nodded. "Good. Let them come. This time we fight on our terms," she said. Out a signal, across Earth's defense network, ships and stations prepared. Railguns were loaded. Missiles were armed. Pilots climbed into their fighters. The humans had survived the first attack. Now they would strike harder. The Growlithe fleet spread out, forming a deadly wall of firepower. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and missile launchers pointed at Earth and its defenders. "Crush their ships," Jorak ordered. "Leave no survivors." The first shots came like a rain of fire. Growlithe plasma blasts tore across space. One human frigate took a direct hit. Shields failed, and it exploded in a ball of flame. Jorak smiled. At last victory, but the smile didn't last long. The human fleet moved fast, faster than the Growlithe expected. Small, agile ships darted between the plasma blasts. Railguns thundered. Missiles weaved through debris, guided by clever human code. Another Growlithe ship fell, its engines blown apart by a railgun slug. Inside one of the human corvettes, a young pilot named Jay Carter gripped his controls. His ship shuddered as it dodged enemy fire. Sweat dripped down his face, but his eyes were steady. "Lock on target. Fire," he shouted. A missile streaked from his ship, hitting a Growlithe gunship. The alien ship cracked open like an egg, spilling fire into space. Jay grinned. "That's for New Berlin," he said softly. Remembering the colony the Growlithe had destroyed, Jorak roared in frustration as more of his ships were hit. "They're too fast. They're too smart," Vrek said, fear rising in his voice. Silence. Jorak snapped. But even he knew the truth. The humans fought like no other species. They didn't run, they didn't beg. They fought with every trick, every weapon, every ounce of strength, and they were winning. The battle raged on. The Growlithe fired all they had, but the humans seemed to be everywhere at once. Small attack craft zipped between the Growlithe ships, striking weak points. Human cruisers focused fire, working together to bring down the bigger enemy vessels. 1. Growlithe's heavy cruiser turned to flee, but a human destroyer chased it down. tearing it apart with railgun fire. On the Doombringer, Jorak's eyes burned with hate. We need to break their spirit, target their world. If we cannot beat their fleet, we will burn their home. Vrek hesitated. Commander, we're strike. Their world, we may wake the fury of the entire species, Jorak growled. It is already awake. The Growlithe fleet aimed its biggest weapons at Earth. Massive plasma beams charged up, glowing red and white with deadly power. On Earth, warning. Sirens blared. Civilians ran for shelter. Defense stations prepared to intercept the blasts. Captain Sarah Grant saw what was happening. They're going to fire on the planet. We can't let them, she gave the order. The human fleet surged forward in a desperate attack. Ships took hits but kept coming. They fired railguns and missiles at the Growlithe plasma cannons, trying to stop the charge. One human battleship, the Independence, made a suicide run. It rammed a Growlithe dreadnought, sacrificing itself to stop the plasma cannon from firing. Both ships exploded in a blinding flash. Jorak howled in rage as his dreadnought died. His fleet was falling apart. They're just humans. He shouted, "Why can't we crush them?" Vrek shook his head. Because they fight for something more than survival. They fight for home, for family. That makes them strong. Jorak stared at him. The words stung because they were true. The Growlithe fleet tried one last push. But the humans didn't break. They didn't give up. Kept coming, kept fighting, kept striking at the heart of the enemy. In the end, the Growlithe fleet had no choice. Their losses were too great. Pride shattered. Order the retreat, Jorak said bitterly. Before we lose everything. The Growlithe ships turned and fled, limping away from Earth, leaving behind wreckage and defeat. On Valor, Sarah watched the enemy run. She didn't cheer. Too many had died. But Earth was safe for now. Let them go, she said softly. Them tell the galaxy what happens when you attack humans. Across the stars, word spread fast. Unstoppable Growlithe horde had been stopped. The conquerors had bled. The galaxy would never be the same. The dark side of the galaxy boiled with fire as the Growlithe fleet gathered. Thousands of warships formed a wave of steel and plasma, ready to crash down on the stars. This time Jorak would not allow failure. His pride, his hunger for revenge both, burned hotter than the suns. On the bridge of the Doombringer, Jorak stared at the holomap. It showed the growing Alliance fleet. Humans, Valar, Kirix, Naruk. All gathered. All standing together. They think unity will save them. Jorak hissed. They think they can stop us. But they forget they are still weak. They are still prey. Vrek stood at his side, silent. He knew better than to argue. This time, Jorak had a plan. A plan born not of pride but of cold, deadly strategy. The Growlithe did not strike where the Alliance was strongest. No, they struck at the edges. At the weak points. A lonely mining colony on a Kirix world. Gone in minutes, a Valari listening post near a black hole. Destroyed before it could send a warning. An Naruk fuel station. Burned to ash. They moved like shadows, striking fast, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. The Alliance tried to respond. But they were too slow. The Growlithe were always one step ahead. On the Valor, Captain Sarah Grant watched the reports come in. Each attack felt like a knife. Each lost world, a reminder of the cost of war. They're testing us, she said, her voice tight. They want to see if we break apart under pressure. Her officers nodded grimly. But we won't break, she said. We can't. The Alliance leaders met again, this time on the Valari world of Lethera. A world of green oceans and silver cities now turned into a fortress. The Valari elder spoke first. If we cannot protect our worlds, how can we hope to win this war? Sarah stood, looking at each leader in turn. We stop reacting. We stop chasing shadows. We draw them in, make them fight us on our terms. The Growlithe fleet, meanwhile, grew bold. The small victories filled Jorak with fresh hunger. Now, he growled, we strike at their heart. We crush their fleet. We burn their hope. Vrek hesitated. Commander, the humans are clever. The Alliance is learning. What if they are ready? Jorak's eyes flared. Then we will teach them what true power means. The Growlithe fleet changed course. No more small raids. No more hit-and-run attacks. They gathered their full force and headed straight for the Alliance fleet near Lethra. Their ships blotted out the stars. A sea of death moving through space. On Valor, the alarms sounded. They're coming, Sarah said quietly. Yes, ma'am. A full fleet, bigger than before. Sarah looked at the map. Lethara was strong, but could it hold? Could the Alliance fleet stop the wave that was coming? Signal all ships, she said. Prepare for battle. This is what we've trained for. This is where we stand. The Alliance fleet took position around Lethera. Human cruisers, Valari shield ships, Keurig stealth hunters, Naruk strike wings already, and then the stars went dark as the Growlithe came. The first shots fired lit up the void. Growlithe plasma cannons flared. Alliance railguns answered. Missiles. Streaked shields glowed. The battle began. The Growlithe attacked like a storm. Their ships drove forward, smashing at the Alliance line. Jorak's voice rang through his fleet. Break them. Burn them. No retreat. The Alliance fought back with everything they had. The Valari shield ships took the brunt of the first wave, holding the line as long as they could. Human railguns pounded Growlithe cruisers. Kirik's hunters slipped through. The chaos, planting bombs on enemy hulls. Naruk strike wings danced between explosions, hitting weak points. But the Growlithe kept coming. A Valari shield ship exploded, torn apart by plasma fire. A human destroyer was gutted by boarding pods. The Alliance line wavered. On Valor, Sarah saw it. She felt it. They're pushing too hard, she said suddenly. They're too eager. They think they've won already. Her eyes narrowed. Good. Let them think that. Then she gave the order. Phase 2. Now. From behind Lethra's moon, hidden ships appeared. Reserve force, kept secret, held back until now. Drones by the thousands swarmed the Growlithe rear. Mines hidden in the planet's rings detonated, tearing into Growlithe support ships. The trap was sprung. Jorak's confidence cracked as explosions rocked his fleet. What is this? He roared. Where did these ships come from? Rek answered. Quietly, the humans planned this. The Growlithe fleet tried to regroup. But now they were caught between two fires, the Alliance main fleet and the hidden reserves. The battle turned. Growlithe ships fell one after another. The storm that had seemed unstoppable now broke apart under the weight of the Alliance's plan. Jorak pounded his chair, signaled a retreat, but it was too late for many. The Growlithe lost ship after ship as they fled into the dark. On Valor, the crew watched the enemy retreat. We held, an officer said. Sarah nodded, but her heart was heavy. They had won the day, but the cost was high. Too many ships gone. Too many lives lost, and she knew Jorak would not give up. This isn't over, she said. Not yet. The galaxy was quiet after the Battle of Lethra. To quiet. Wreckage floated where mighty ships once fought. The Alliance had held the line, but the cost had been great. Burned ships, broken stations, and lost friends haunted the survivors. Yet, in the silence that followed, one truth became clear. The Growlithe would return. Captain Sarah Grant stood on the Bridge of Valor, staring out at the stars. The scars of war were everywhere on her ship, on her crew, and in her heart. We stopped them this time, she said softly. But next time, they'll bring everything they have. Her first officer, Commander Blake, nodded, and we'll be ready. Far across the stars, Jarek raged in his war chamber. His claws tore deep marks into the steel walls. His fleet had been beaten again by the humans, by the Alliance, by those he once called weak. But Jarok still had his greatest weapon, numbers and rage. We end this now, he growled to his warlords. No more games, no more tricks. Gather every ship, every warrior. We burn their worlds until nothing is left. Rex spoke carefully, Commander. We lose this battle. Jorak spun on him, his eyes burned. We will not lose. So the Greyleaf horde gathered. From every dark corner of the galaxy they came, warships the size of cities, carriers packed with fighters, dreadnoughts with plasma cannons that could crack moons, a fleet so large it turned night to day as it passed by stars. Their goal was simple: crush the Alliance in one final blow, back on Valor. Sarah called the Alliance leaders to a final meeting. The time for debate was over. The time for action had come. We have one chance, she said, pointing at the holomap. They're coming here to the Valari core worlds. If they take those, the Alliance falls. The Valari elder nodded, and we must make our stand there. No retreat, no surrender. The Kyrix queen added, we will fight with everything we have. Our eggs, our future, depend on it. The Naruk warlord flared his feathers. Let them come. They will find we are not prey. The Alliance fleet moved to the Valari core. It was the strongest point left: fortified planets, hidden weapons, and a fleet united at last. Factories worked without rest. Mines in space were armed. Drones were launched. Every ship that could fly was made ready. On one moon, humans and Valari worked side by side, building massive railguns that could fire at targets across space. On another, Naruk engineers set traps that would shred Growlithe ships as they passed. The people of the Alliance worlds watched the skies. They knew the battle to come would decide everything. Victory meant freedom. Defeat meant death. Children were moved into bunkers. Families said quiet goodbyes. Soldiers checked their weapons one last time, and then the sky darkened. The Greyleaf had arrived. Like a wave of death, the Grey fleet spread across the stars. Their ships filled the void, blotting out the light of nearby suns. It was the largest force ever seen. On Valor, the tension was heavy. The crew stared at the screens. At the endless sea of enemy ships, they brought everything, Blake said. Sarah nodded. So did we. The Alliance fleet waited in silence. Human cruisers with railguns loaded. Valari shield ships linked their defenses. Kyrix stealth ships disappeared into the dark, ready to strike. Naruk, fighters circled, engines hot, weapons. Armed Jorok stood on the bridge of Doombringer, his eyes wild with hunger. This is it, he said. No mercy, no escape. We end them here. The Growlithe fleet charged. The first wave hit the Alliance line like a hammer. Plasma cannons fired. Railguns answered. The void was filled with light as ships exploded. Shields flared and died. Owls cracked. Greyleaf fighters swarmed like insects, trying to break through. Alliance drones met them in deadly dances of fire. On Valor, Sarah gave the order. Hold the line. No one breaks. No one runs. Every second felt like an hour. Kept coming. Their ships crashed against the Alliance defense, wave after wave. But the Alliance held. The great railguns on the moon fired, tearing Growlithe dreadnoughts apart. Mines detonated, turning entire enemy squadrons into wreckage. Stealth ships planted bombs on enemy flagships. Still, the Growlithe advanced. Jorax's voice roared across his fleet. Press on. Break their line. Victory is ours. But as the battle raged, his confidence began to crack. For every Alliance ship that fell, 2 Greyleaf ships were lost. The prey he had hunted was fighting back harder than he had ever imagined. On Valor, smoke filled the air. Sparks rained from broken panels. But Sarah stood tall. Keep firing. We can win this. And then, a voice came over the Kumza Kyrix captain. We found an opening. Command ships are exposed. Sarah's eyes blazed with hope. Signal. All strike wings. Hit them now. We take out their command. We end this. The final phase of the battle had begun. Naruk, fighters, and Kyrix bombers streaked toward the heart of the Greyleaf fleet. Human cruisers followed, their guns blazing. Jorok saw the danger too late. No. Protect the command ships. Protect, his words were cut off as explosions rocked his fleet. One by one, Greyleaf command ships fell, torn apart by the Alliance assault. The tide turned. Without command, The Greyleaf fleet fell into chaos. Some tried to fight on, others fled. But the Alliance gave no ground. The last stand had begun, and the Alliance was winning. The void burned with fire and wreckage. For once the Greyleaf fleet had darkened the stars, now there was only ruin. The command ships were gone, shattered by the Alliance's final strike. Without orders, the Growlithe ships turned wild. Some fought on blindly, others tried to escape. But nowhere was safe. The trap had closed. On the Bridge of Valor, Captain Sarah Grant gripped the rail as the battle reached its climax. "Push them back," she said, voice firm. "Don't let them regroup. Don't let them run." Her officers nodded, working as one. Railguns thundered. Missiles streaked. Alliance fighters and drones hunted the broken enemy ships like wolves. Shorrock watched his empire crumble. On the Bridge of Doombringer, the great warlord of the Greyleaf felt something he had never felt before: fear. His fleet, his pride, his power, all of it was dying. "How?" he whispered. "How did it come to this?" Beside him, Breck said. "Nothing." He knew the truth. The Greyleaf had believed for too long that strength alone would win the stars. But strength without mind, without unity, had led them here to ruin. The Alliance gave no mercy. The Kyrix stealth ships planted bombs deep inside enemy cruisers, tearing them apart from within. Naruk fighters swarmed Growlithe dreadnoughts, punching through weak points in their armor. Alari shield ships, once used only for defense, now charged forward, slamming into enemy formations, breaking them apart. And the humans? Their ships fired railguns, plasma cannons, and missiles without pause, driving the Growlithe back. Ship by ship, Jorak's command ship shook as an explosion rocked its side. "We can't hold, Commander," one of his warlords cried. "We must retreat." But where could they go? The Alliance had them surrounded. Stars themselves seemed to turn against them. Sarah's voice came over the coms. "Sent to the entire Alliance fleet, this is our moment. We end this now. For every world they burned, for every life they stole. No more Growlithe threat. No more fear. We fight until they are finished." Her words lit a fire in every soldier, every pilot, every captain. The Alliance pushed harder. Striking at the broken remains of the Growlithe fleet, Jorak slammed his fist into the console. "No, I will not die here. I will not be defeated by prey." He ordered Doombringer forward, hoping to break through the Alliance line, to escape into the deep void. But his ship was too slow. The Alliance had planned for this. Mines hidden in the asteroid belt ahead detonated as Doombringer approached. Tearing through its engines, the giant ship shuddered, drifted, and died. On Valor, the crew watched as the mighty Doombringer exploded. Consumed in fire. "It's over," Blake said softly. Sarah shook her head. "Not yet. We finished this." Number. Growlithe ship leaves. Not one. The battle became a hunt. The remaining Growlithe ships scattered, trying to flee. But the Alliance was ready. Human strike groups chased down the survivors, forcing surrender or destruction. Kyrix scouts tracked ships hiding in debris fields. Naruk squadrons cut off escape routes. Valari warships guarded the safe worlds, ensuring no Greyleaf could slip past. Hours passed. Then at last, the stars grew quiet. The great Greyleaf horde, the terror of the galaxy, was gone. On Valor, the bridge fell silent. The crew, exhausted but victorious, stared at the screens. Where once the enemy fleet had filled space, now only wreckage remained. Sarah sank into her chair. The weight of the battle, of all they had lost and won, pressed down on her. "We did it," Blake said. Sarah nodded. "What cost?" Across the Valari core worlds, cheers rose from the people. Families emerged from shelters. Soldiers hugged one another. Children looked up at the sky, no longer afraid. On every Alliance world, the news spread. The Greyleaf were defeated. The war was over. But Sarah knew the work was not done. The galaxy was free of the Growlithe, but the scars remained. Worlds to rebuild, lives to mourn, trust to strengthen. She stood, looking out at the stars. They conquered worlds without fear. she said quietly. But in the end, they learned. Humans fight back. The war was over. The Greyleaf were gone. The galaxy was forever changed. On every Alliance world, the first light of peace felt strange. For years, people had lived in fear. Every sunrise had brought worry would this be the day the Greyleaf arrived. Now that fear was gone. But the silence that followed victory was heavy with questions. What comes next? On the Bridge of Valor, Captain Sarah Grant stood alone, looking out at the stars. Wreckage still floated in the void-broken ships, shattered stations, pieces of lives lost in battle. But beyond that wreckage, the stars shined brighter than she remembered. Blake stepped beside her. We did what we had to do. Sarah nodded. We did, and now we have to help rebuild. The Alliance gathered once more. Not for war, but for peace. A great meeting was called at Villa Prime, the heart of the Alliance. Leaders, generals, engineers, and even farmers came together. The Greyleaf threat had forced them to unite. Now they would decide how to build a future. The Valari elder spoke first. His voice was tired but hopeful. For too long we fought alone. That is why the Greyleaf nearly won. From this day forward, we stand as one galaxy. No more isolated worlds. No more silent cries for help. The Kirik's queen clicked in agreement. We share resources, share knowledge. We protect one another. The Naruk warlord flared his feathers. If another enemy comes, we will face them together. All eyes turned to Sarah. She spoke. Quietly, but with strength. Humans came here as strangers. But we fought beside you. We bled beside you. We will stay beside you. Together, we'll make sure no empire like the Greyleaf rises again. So the work began. The Alliance sent ships to rebuild broken worlds. Human engineers helped repair stations. Valari healers traveled to wounded colonies. Kirik's workers cleaned. The wreckage that darkened the skies, Nair UK fighters patrolled the stars, hunting down the last Greyleaf pirates who refused to surrender. On Earth, the news of victory filled people with pride. For the first time, humanity was seen not as newcomers, but as heroes. The story spread across the galaxy, of human railguns tearing Greyleaf dreadnoughts apart, of stealth teams planting bombs deep in enemy ships, of captains who refused to give up. Earth became a symbol, a death world that had given the galaxy hope, but peace was not easy. Some worlds still burned. Some leaders still distrusted one another. Some saw the Alliance as a danger, fearing it would become another empire in time. Sarah knew this. That's why she worked harder than ever, meeting leaders, calming fears, building bonds. This isn't about power. She told them. It's about survival. It's about making sure no one has to face what we faced. One day, Sarah stood. On the rebuilt station above Velar Prime, she watched as the first of the new Alliance ships left port. These ships were not made for war but for peace. They would explore, trade, and protect. Blake joined her. Funny, isn't it? It's after all we've seen, all we've fought, we're still looking to the stars. Sarah smiled. That's what makes us who we are. We always look forward. In the deep void, far from known space, new mysteries waited. Strange signals. Unknown worlds. The galaxy was wide and still full of danger. But now the Alliance was ready. Where once the Greyleaf horde had conquered without fear. Now the free worlds stood watch, together, stronger than before, and in that strength, galaxy found a new dawn. Ships of many kinds, human Valari, Kirik's, Naruk, and more set out across the stars, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to learn, to build, to protect. The Alliance had learned the hardest lesson of all. Unity is stronger than any weapon. On the walls of the new Alliance Council Hall, a message was carved in every language. We fought back. We stood together. We are free. And as the stars shined down on their worlds, the people of the galaxy knew whatever challenges came, they would face them side by side. The age of fear was over. The age of hope had begun. The Greyleaf fleet limped through deep space, their ships scarred and broken. Fires burned in their corridors. Engines sputtered. Warriors who once felt no fear now stared at the walls of their ships, silent, ashamed, on the bridge of the Doombringer. Jorak sat in his command chair, his fists clenched so tight his claws dug into his palms. His red eyes burned with hate. The defeated Earth haunted him. The faces of those stubborn humans filled his mind. "This isn't over," he growled. "Humans think they have one, but we will return. We will crush them." Git, his second-in-command, stood nearby, silent. He had no words to offer. The fleet was too weak to fight again so soon. They needed time to repair, to gather their strength. But Jorak's pride would not let him wait. Meanwhile, in a hidden base on the edge of a dead star system, the human fleet gathered. Valor, Independence II, Defiant, and many other ships floated like shadows in the dark. Captain Sarah Grant stood in the command room of Valor, studying a holomap of space. "They'll be back," she said quietly. Her officers nodded. "We can't match them ship for ship," one said. "Their fleet is still bigger, even after we hurt them." Sarah smiled, but it was a cold smile. "Then we don't fight ship for ship, we fight smart. We set a trap." The humans worked fast. They lured the Greylith fleet toward an asteroid, field filled with hidden weapons. Old mining machines were turned into deadly drones. Cargo ships became decoys. And deep inside the field, railgun turrets and missile pods waited, hidden among the rocks. Sarah sent out a fake signal, weak, broken, like a call for help from a damaged human colony. It was bait. On the Doombringer, the Greylith fleet picked up the signal. Jorak's eyes glowed brighter. A colony, back, damaged, calling for help. "They are weak. We will strike now." Vrek hesitated. "Commander, what if it is a trap?" Snarled. "They are running, hiding. This is our chance to strike back and show the galaxy our strength." Against his better judgment, Vrek gave the order. The fleet turned toward the signal. The Greylith followed the bait, eager for revenge. The Greylith ships entered the asteroid field. At first, all was quiet, just rocks drifting through space, shadows, and silence. "This place is cursed," one Greylith officer muttered. Jorak ignored him. His mind was on the prize. Find the colony. Burn it. But as the fleet pushed deeper, the trap closed. The first railgun slugs came without warning. Massive chunks of metal smashed into a Greylith cruiser, tearing through its hull. The ship spun out of control, crashing into an asteroid. "Ambush!" shouted before Jorak could respond. Missiles streaked from hidden launchers. They struck another Greylith ship, ripping it apart. Drones, small and fast, swarmed the Greylith, cutting at their engines, jamming their signals. "This is no colony," Jorak roared. "It's a battlefield." From the shadows, the human fleet appeared. Valor led the charge, its railguns firing nonstop. Sarah's voice rang through her ship. "Hit them hard. No mercy. This is our chance to end this threat." Human ships darted between the asteroids, using the rocks for cover. They struck at weak points, targeting Greylith engines, weapons, and command centers. The Greylith tried to fight back. Plasma cannons fired wildly, but many shots hit asteroids or missed completely. The field was too tight, too dangerous. The humans had the advantage. Jorak's pride turned to desperation. "Break out of this field," he ordered. "Form up and fight." But the Greylith fleet couldn't form up. The asteroids trapped them. The human attacks kept coming. One by one, Greylith ships fell. A destroyer exploded as a drone packed with explosives rammed its fuel tanks. A cruiser was split in two by a hidden railgun battery. Jorak watched his fleet die around him. His red eyes dimmed. This was no battle. This was slaughter. Vrek grabbed his arm. "Commander, we must retreat, or we lose everything." Jorak hesitated. His heart burned with shame. But he knew Vrek was right. "Signal the retreat," he said bitterly. "Get us out." The Greylith ships that could still move fled the asteroid field, leaving wreckage behind. The few survivors jumped to light speed, their pride shattered again. On the Valor, Sarah watched them run. "We did it," her officer said. Sarah shook her head. "We hurt them. They'll be back, and next time they'll be smarter. Need to be ready." The stars of the galaxy seemed to shine brighter as the news spread. The Growlithe horde, once feared by all, had been beaten, not once but twice. First at Earth, then at the trap in the asteroid field. Worlds that had once trembled at the thought of Growlithe warships now began to whisper the same. Question: could the humans really stop them for good? On the human flagship Valor, Captain Sarah, Grant stood before a holomap filled with alien worlds and fleets. Around her, officers and diplomats worked day and night. Messages flowed in from across the stars, calls for help, offers for meetings, pleas for guidance. Sarah felt the weight of it all. The humans were no longer fighting just for Earth. Now the galaxy was watching. "We can't do this alone forever," she said quietly. "If we want to stop the Growlithe, we need allies." In a grand hall on the station Haven's Reach, a meeting unlike any before was about to begin. The station floated at the edge of neutral space, far from Earth, far from Growlithe territory. Inside the hall, leaders of many species gathered. There were the tall, blue-skinned Valari, their eyes like liquid silver. The insect-like Kyrix, who spoke in clicking tones but understood human words. The feathered Naruk, their bright colors dimmed by worry. Many more. When Sarah entered, they all turned to look at her. A human. From a small world on the edge of the galaxy, yet the one who had done what none of them had dared. A Velar elder spoke first. His voice was soft, but clear. "You have fought the Horde and survived. Twice. Why have you called us here, human?" Sarah stood straight. Her voice was steady. "Because the Growlithe will not stop. You know this? They will come for all of us. Earth was their target first. Your worlds will be next. Can only win if we stand together." Murmurs filled the hall. Some nodded. Others looked away, afraid. The Growlithe had ruled through fear for generations. It was not easy to break that. "Fear." A Kyrix queen leaned forward. "What can humans offer? Your fleet is small. Your worlds are few." Sarah smiled, but not with pride, rather, with quiet confidence. "We offer the one thing the Growlithe fear now. We offer the will to fight. And we will share what we know. Our weapons, our traps, our tactics." The room grew quiet. Together. Sarah continued, "We can end the Growlithe threat. We can free the galaxy." Days turned into nights on Haven's Reach. Talks went on. Some alien leaders argued, some doubted. But slowly a new hope began to grow. The galaxy had long accepted Growlithe rule as unbreakable. Now they saw it was not. At last, the Naruk ambassador spoke the words that changed everything. "We will join this alliance. The Growlithe burned 3 of our colonies. No more. We fight." The Valari followed. "We will lend our ships and knowledge." One by one the others joined. The Kyrix, a small but fierce Vok. Even the shy Navarre, whose hidden worlds had never before joined any war. A new alliance was born. A force not of one species, but many. As the fleet began to take shape, engineers and builders worked around the clock. On dozens of worlds, factories turned out weapons and ships, railguns and missiles, plasma cannons and drones. Human tactics were shared. Valari shields were added to human ships. Kyrix stealth tech was given to the Naruk fighters. The Growlithe would no longer face scattered weak enemies, they would face a united front. But far away in the dark of space, the Growlithe licked their wounds. On the Doombringer, Jorak stared at reports from spies. "They are joining together," Vrek said. Quietly. A true alliance. Jorak's claws tapped the arm of his chair. His pride still burned from the defeats. But now his hate grew sharper. "Then we strike before they are ready. One by one, we will break them. Before their alliance can stand strong." The Growlithe began to move again. Their ships were repaired, their warriors eager for revenge. But this time, they moved in secret. Small groups of ships raided border worlds. They attacked supply lines. They tried to sow fear to stop the alliance from growing stronger on valor. Sarah and her allies watched these attacks unfold. "They're trying to break us apart before we can stand," Sarah said. A Vellery captain nodded. "Not. We must hold firm. We must show them their fear tactics won't work." So the alliance did not break. When Akurik's world was attacked, human ships came to help. When a Valari station was raided, Naruk fighters defended it. The Greyleaf found that fear no longer ruled the stars, but Sarah knew the hardest battle was yet to come. The Greyleaf would soon bring their full force again. And when they did, the new alliance would have to be ready or fall. Across the galaxy, in quiet corners of space, the first ships of the alliance gathered. Small at first, but growing each day, and in the hearts of many, a new feeling replaced fear: hope.